Brett Rosen is a New Jersey trial attorney who often takes on cases that others shy away from, defending clients already judged in the court of public opinion. So, you get these clients that we already report on in the news, and a lot of lawyers say, we want nothing to do with this guy. And Brett says, whoa. Everybody is entitled to an attorney. And Brett's work gives us a closer look at what it means to defend the unpopular and why. Good morning to you, Brett.
Good morning, Ken. And Ken, I heard Mike say that we're going to have a tornado, so I wasn't sure if I just should do this in the basement or something like that.
You're fine for now. He said it's a 2% chance, but listen, I don't want to tell anyone in case you hear anything funny. Just go. We'll survive. Trust me. Yeah, we don't want anyone getting hurt. But in terms of this, I have in my family 6 different attorneys. So, and I know that a lot of them say, it's just easier to take the check of an ambulance or whatever. But you go out and help the people who others would say, why do I want to put my name with this person? Why do you feel that is your calling, defending the so-called indefensible?
Ken, I think it started at a young age. I think it has to do something with sticking up for the little guy, the bully mentality. Like I kind of feel like with the government has all these resources, and I don't want to say they're the bully, but they're definitely the bigger guy. It's almost like a David and Goliath type of thing. And I think since a little age, I've always wanted to stick up for people and fight for the little guy. And when it comes to criminal defendants, they are the little guy. And in this system that we have, it's innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. So I think that's where it all really began for me.
Yeah, I'm friends with him. I know you'll know the name when I say Arthur Aidala is a friend of mine, and I've made no secret of it. Over the years, we've been pictured in a lot of places, and he is one of Harvey Weinstein's attorneys, and he got a lot of the charges or the convictions against him reversed. And he says the same thing. He hates seeing, and it's one thing if somebody's guilty, they're guilty, whatever. But it's one thing when people find you guilty. It's another thing when the public just piles on and says, well, if you're guilty of this, then you just suck as a human being and you need to die. And that's what I think tends to happen. So but it's rare to find the attorney like you who says, what, hold on, stop piling on. Let's find out. Let's actually go through justice and find out before we have this person hauled off and stoned in the public square. But that takes a special guy to do that. And a lot of people don't want to risk their own career and their own reputation in legal circles. Has that impacted you in any way, one way or the other, among, say, fellow attorneys? And do you even care about that?
No, honestly, Ken, I don't care about that. You can think whatever you want to think about me, but at the end of the day, I think everybody's been in a situation, whether it's been at school, your family, where someone has pointed the finger and accused you of something, and it turns out that was a wrongful accusation. It's the same thing here. Even if they did do it or they didn't do it, this is a justice system that is set up where it's better to let 10 guilty people go than one innocent person stay behind bars. And that's what I really, truly feel.
How do you separate emotion from facts when you're dealing with folks? Because I'm sure there have been people that come before you, and you have to wonder at times, do I really believe this person or not? And how do you separate the two and make that judgment yourself before you take on that case?
Ken, that's a great question. And the reason why that is such a great question too is that I have to be objective. When you're in trial, you have to get a little, I would say, emotional. You have to it's a little fire in your belly. But before trial, before anything, when you're analyzing a case, you have to be objective. You have to separate the facts out from the emotions. And even if this person is lying to me, even if they are guilty, they are still entitled to a defense. So it's very important for me when I am taking a case, I do separate emotions from facts.
Britt, how has social media, this era of social media, impacted the way you can do your job? Because it seems like in 2 minutes, you could have people paint a narrative and put it out there, and then you have just mobs of people who don't know your defendant in any way, but all of a sudden they're coming to judgment.
So there's a couple ways that you could kind of combat that. One of them is obviously not spinning the narrative, but also giving the other side. When it comes to criminal defense cases, you're usually getting the prosecution side, the victim side, before you ever get the actual defendant side. And sometimes, you let social media, whoever, say, hey, hold on 1 second, you forgot this, or you forgot this point of view. But with social media nowadays, it really comes to when we're going to trial, and you hope that if someone has seen the case or read about it, that they still, if they are picked as a juror, that they still can come to the trial with a fair and impartial view and not biased, because that's the thing that will kill a case. Is these jurors are all tainted with bias, so it is tough. But if you could get an honest juror that says that, yeah, I read the case, but I could still be fair and impartial, and hopefully they are and will apply that. That's all I really need.
Hmm. And I think most people can be fair. People who can use empathy can be fair as long as you. I always tell people, and I always tell people, like I used to be a priest. That's why I say I used to tell people, put yourself in the other person's shoes. You may hate the person, what they've done in their lives, what they represent. Now flip it. If you were that person right now, and you have the ability to change people, you could have deathbed conversions, right? People have the ability to change. If you were that person, what would you want in a juror, and are you able to be that juror at that moment? So it's tough to find, as you said, but thank God for attorneys like you, because in our system we need them, and there aren't enough of them.
I appreciate that, Ken. You're one in I say 1 in a million when I hear that. So thanks.
Well, only because they're in my family. I have literally six, and they were all defense attorneys, and I've heard it all. So, and I think to the average person who doesn't have the sit down and the conversation, you don't understand until then. So, Brett, give everybody your website in case people, God forbid, need you. And I mean that. You know why I say it in that way. God forbid the day comes that they do need you, but they may. So, how do they reach out to you?
Ken, it's a little long, but it's NYNJ Criminal Civil ESQ.com.
Or I'm sure if they Google Brett Rosen, defense attorney, I'm sure it'll pop up on the Google, right? All right.
That's
Hey,
correct.
listen, I could talk to you for hours about cases. Let's do it again, please, especially if you're allowed to talk. If you're allowed to talk about cases that have passed, we would love to. Even if you speak in the generic, we would love to talk to you more about it. New Jersey trial attorney, good guy, Brett Rosen. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me, Ken. Pleasure.
You bet, Brett.